Yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy G Blaze, and today we are back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. And in this video we are going to talk about the top 5 best void rare champions in the game. For the first champion, we got Fel Hound. It is a great unit for campaign and dungeons in the early game stage. It is a defense type champion, and it is in the Demon Spawn faction. For his skills, it has an AoE first skill that gives a 25% chance of placing a decreased speed debuffs for 2 turns, which will help the team to gain more turns than the enemy because of the turn meter advantage. For his second skill, it gives a 7.5 continuous heal with a 15% reflect damage buff on all allies, and it becomes a 2-turn cooldown if max skilled. Using this skill, it helps the team to have a safer and a sustainable battle that gives a higher win rate. And for his third skill, it gives a block damage buff on one ally for 1 turn, which is useful in critical situations. For artifacts, I recommend HP Gauntlet or HP or Defense Chestplate, and speed boots on him that gives a speed and tanky HP stats and defense stats to sustain in battles, and give more continuous heals for your team, which will help it to become more efficient in every battles. Overall, it is just for early game, and later on when you progress a lot and you get a lot of shards, you might get a better champion like Steel Skull, which is better than Fel Hound. For the next champion, we got Painkeeper. It is an HP type champion, and she is in the Dark Elves. For her first skill, it attacks 2 times and also refills a 15% turn meter, which gives her an advantage to have more turns. For her second skill, it is an AoE skill that also heals all allies for 25% depending on her max HP, and when max skilled, it heals for 65% and it becomes a 4-turn cooldown. And for her third skill, it decreases the cooldown of all allies killed by 1 turn, which will help your team to use their skills faster, and it becomes a 4-turn cooldown if max killed. The combination of heal and decreased cooldown will help your team to gain turns to use skills to buff and to deal more damage to the enemy. It is useful on campaign and dungeons. The artifacts I recommend is a life set or a full speed set would be good for her to become fast or tanky to sustain in battles. Also, she needs to be the last champion to take turn to become much more efficient for the third skills, and overall she is good for early to mid game. For the third champion, we got Seducer. He is a defense type champion and he is in the Undead Hordes. For his first skill, it attacks 1 enemy and a 30% chance of placing a sleep debuff on the target, which is good for arena defense to disable the enemy. For his second skill, it is an AoE attack that has a 75% chance of placing a 25% decreased attack buff, which is not bad, but still it will help your team to decrease the incoming damage from the enemy and will help the team to survive in battles. This skill is good for campaign, dungeons, and even arena defense. And for his third skill, it gives a 30% defense buff and block debuff on all allies for 2 turns. It will help the team to have more defense stats to reduce the incoming damage from the enemy, and also it helps the team to block the debuffs coming from the enemy, which will give the team an advantage in battles. Also, Seducer has a skill which is usable if you have a Temptress in your team. The skill gives a 50% ally protection buff and also a block damage buff, which is super strong if you need to have a defense team for PvP and PvE. With Temptress, you will have a balanced team with attack buff and defense buffer, and overall he is good for a defense team, which is useful in arena defense. For the next one, we got Coldheart. She is an attack type champion and she is in the Dark Elf faction. For her first skill, it attacks 4 times that has a 25% chance per hit to place a 100% heal reduction for 2 turns, which is good for Spirit Keep boss to block the healing skill. And for her second skill, it attacks all enemies that has a 30% chance of placing a 50% decreased accuracy for 1 turn. Also, it places a 5% poison if the target has already a heal reduction debuff. And for her third skill, it attacks the enemy. Also, it fully depletes the turn meter with a chance of extra 30% to inflict critical hit. And the damage is according to your attack and enemy's max HP. Overall, Coldheart is one of the best clan boss unit that can deal high amount of damage to the boss, and also for the dungeon on giving high damage to the enemy, and for the boss that also depletes its turn meter. And she is a early mid game to end game unit, and I recommend to build her after you have a good farmer in the brutal campaign. And for the last one, we got Bellower. He is a support type champion, but he is the one of the best endgame campaign farmer. For his faction, he is in the Ogrin tribes, and for his first skill, it is an AoE damage, also has a 20% chance to place a block cooldown skill debuff that prevents the enemy to cool down their skills for 1 turn. And for his second skill, it is also an AoE damage that has a 50% chance of placing a 15% speed debuff for 2 turns. And for his third skill, it is an AoE damage that has a 75% chance of placing a 25% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. Also a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Overall, he is very fast endgame campaign farmer by giving him a high attack stats and speed because his skills are based on its attack. It can clear a stage in campaign in less than 20 seconds. Also, he is good in Spider's Den because of his skills that are AoE damage, which is good on dealing damage to the boss and also killing its spiderlings. And that's gonna do it for the top 5 best Void Rare champions in the game. It's not that much data that I've given, but I hope for the other players it helps to get some information for the champions, especially in the Void Affinity. I just reviewed their skills, where should they used, and what's good about the champion. So if you like the video, make sure hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos. And as always guys, I'm G Blaze and I'm signing out.